Welcome back to Neuro Nightly Insight. Tonight, we're talking about memory, one of the most misunderstood functions of the brain. Because most people imagine memory like a camera roll. You record a moment, store it, and later replay it. But neuroscience gives us a different picture. Memory is not a playback system, it's a reconstruction system. Your brain does not store the past as a perfect file. It stores fragments, patterns, and then rebuilds a version of the event when you remember it. That is why memory can be vivid and still wrong. Tonight, we'll break down how memory is encoded, consolidated, and retrieved, what the hippocampus actually does, why sleep matters, and why forgetting is not a flaw, but a design feature. When neuroscientists say memory, we're not talking about one thing. Memory is a category with multiple systems, each with distinct circuitry. Working memory. The short-lived mental workspace, holding and manipulating information for seconds, strongly linked to prefrontal cortex networks and dopamine-dependent control. Episodic memory. The autobiographical I was there memory, events and context. Depends heavily on the hippocampus and medial temporal lobe. Semantic memory, facts and knowledge, meanings divorced from when you learned them, supported by distributed cortical networks. Procedural memory skills and habits, riding a bike, typing, motor routines. Strong involvement of basal ganglia, cerebellum, and motor circuits. So when someone says, my memory is bad, the first scientific question is, which memory system? Because the brain doesn't have a memory center, it has memory circuits. Encoding is the process by which an experience becomes a biological change. At the neural level, encoding is fundamentally activity patterns, synaptic modification. When you experience something, populations of neurons fire in coordinated patterns. If that pattern is salient, due to novelty, emotion, reward, or attention, plasticity mechanisms engage. Two key principles. 1. Attention gates encoding. If the prefrontal attention networks don't prioritize the signal, the hippocampus doesn't get a clean write operation. 2. Neuromodulators tag importance. Norepinephrine, from locus coeruleus, amplifies encoding during arousal novelty. Dopamine, from VTA, increases learning when something is rewarding or prediction violating. Acetylcholine shapes encoding states in hippocampal and cortical circuits. This is why emotionally charged or novel events tend to be memorable. Your brain is biochemically marking them as worth storing. But encoding isn't storage. Encoding is the initial imprint. A common misconception is that the hippocampus stores memories. More precisely, the hippocampus functions like an index or pointer system. Your detailed perceptual features, sounds, faces, spatial layouts, are stored broadly in cortex. Visual cortex, auditory cortex, association areas. The hippocampus binds these distributed elements into a coherent episode. What happened, where, when, and with what context? Think of it like this. The cortex is the library of content. The hippocampus is the catalog system that tells you which shelves to pull from together. This binding is one reason hippocampal damage can produce profound episodic memory impairment. People can still have skills and sometimes facts, but struggle to form new autobiographical episodes. And crucially, the hippocampus is tuned to relationships. Who was with whom? What came after what? Where things were in space. It's not just memory. It's relational mapping. Early memories are fragile. Consolidation is the process that stabilizes them over time. There are two major consolidation scales. 1. Synaptic consolidation, minutes to hours. This is local. Changes in receptor trafficking, spine structure, gene expression, protein synthesis. It's the molecular locking in of plasticity, especially after strong encoding. 2. Systems consolidation, days to years. This is circuit-level redistribution. Over time, cortical networks become capable of supporting retrieval with less dependence on the hippocampus. A key player here, sleep. During certain stages of sleep, hippocampal activity patterns replay, reactivating cortical representations. This replay is not mystical. It's a plausible mechanism for teaching the cortex what the hippocampus indexed during the day. In other words, sleep isn't just rest. Sleep is offline training. And this is why chronic sleep deprivation reliably impairs episodic memory. You're encoding, but you're not stabilizing. Retrieval is not reading a file. It's reconstructing a pattern. When you remember, partial cues, smell, a phrase, a location, can trigger a larger network to complete the pattern. This is called pattern completion. But reconstruction introduces vulnerability. New information, expectations, and current emotions can alter the memory as it's reassembled. This leads to a phenomenon that matters deeply. Every act of remembering can change the memory. There's a concept in neuroscience called reconsolidation. When a memory is reactivated, it can temporarily become labile, open to modification, before it stabilizes again. That has huge implications. Why memories evolve over time. Why therapy can sometimes reshape emotional associations. Why confidence doesn't guarantee accuracy. Memory is not truth storage. Memory is an adaptive model of the past. Forgetting is often treated as failure. But forgetting is computationally rational. Brains are finite resource systems. If you stored every detail with equal priority, you'd drown in noise. Forgetting can serve at least three functions. Noise reduction, weak, irrelevant traces decay. Generalization. You preserve the rule, not every instance. Example, this stove is hot rather than every time you touched it. Flexibility. Updating beliefs as environments change. A memory system that never forgets is not necessarily intelligent. It may be trapped by its own archive. So tonight's core takeaways. Memory is multiple systems, not one faculty. The hippocampus is an index that binds distributed cortical content. Consolidation stabilizes memory, and sleep is a key driver. Retrieval is reconstruction, and reconsolidation means remembering can change what is remembered. Forgetting is not only normal, it is functional. In our next episode, we'll go deeper into a system that shapes nearly everything you remember and choose. Attention. How the brain decides what gets processed, what gets ignored, and what becomes reality. This is Neuro Nightly Insight. Until next time, stay curious, because your brain is editing the story.